Well,
Welcome to Sisters and Law. I'm Judge T.
and I'm Rosalind Charles.
And we are back. Welcome back. My Sora wasn't here last week. I tried to hold it down.
You did.
But there
you
was a
did.
lot that went on this week.
Isn't there always a lot that goes on? In
Well,
this, in our political
45
stratosphere?
is over out of the country. We got 10 days.
Making treasonous remarks.
Oh my Jesus!
Anyway, okay.
I mean, there's something about the peace that we had in America. Let's say a peace in the West for a week, but he always makes it something he can say that just
Well, we know
turns the
that
waters.
he is the master of free publicity, and now that he's actually in the presidential seat, he still is a camera and attention hog. And sometimes I just wonder if he just says things just for the sole sake of saying them,
Well, I
just
think
to see what people will
he
say.
borderline treason by actually indicating while on foreign soil that he believed Putin over our United States
Now, he
security
didn't exactly
agencies.
say that, but
No.
he did do a lot of double speak.
No, he said, Putin said he didn't do it. I asked him a few times. He said he didn't do it. I believe him when he said he didn't do it.
But then they come back and say, I believe he believes what he said.
He was just playing. He was doing some acrobatics with words.
Come on.
Let's get off of him because we have too many pedophiles that's running for office right now. We already got one in office. Now we have a new one down in Alabama that's trying to come in.
He's not a pedophile. I thought he just abused women.
No, he
Adult
walked in.
women.
Remember, he also walked in on 13 to 18-year-old beauty pageants while they were naked in their dressing rooms because he said those are his pageants.
Well, I don't believe that the 45th admitted to those allegations just as Roy Moore indeed did.
No, he did. No, he's not admitting. He said he used to go into the dressing room where the girls were getting dressed, and he could do it because they were his pageants. It's not admitting. He said it.
He said
This was
it.
a conversation he was saying. That's what I'm saying. When we keep listening to the video, what we call the bus video. He didn't just
Access
say,
Hollywood, remember?
we need to listen to the whole conversation. It wasn't just about grabbing women by the vaginas.
He was talking about
he
the
was having
pageants,
a
too.
time. That's what they were talking about.
Oh, my goodness.
Like he said that
Well-
he grabbed this woman like a bee, and but he wasn't able to get that. That was a married woman. These are things that can be actually substantiated by his own words, not something that the fake news is supposedly making up.
And folks voted for him anyway. And
Just
now
like
we have
they're about to try to vote for this
Well,
Alabama.
it hasn't
Bama.
happened yet. Roy Moore. Let's say his name. Roy Moore.
But
What did
can
you
we-
say? No more Roy Moore?
No more.
No more more.
Too much. Maybe it's too much or more.
Too much more. Oh my goodness.
Well, you know what? First of all, let me thank everyone for coming out and voting last week here in New Jersey. We got back our seat with the Democrats for Sheila Murphy, of course, who our new lieutenant governor, a woman of color, and Murphy, who is our new governor. Virginia, you held it down. I'm really, really happy. We even got a transgender. We have a young African American public defender that went in while she had her baby while the ballots were coming in. So
Well,
I did want to say
I would
thank
like
you
to
everyone.
say in year 2017, for the first time in history, we have an African American woman with a statewide office.
Yes.
That,
Washington State? Is that? I know.
no. Sheila Oliver.
Oh, Sheila Oliver. Yeah. But
which
it's
I
only
think-
our second. It's only our second lieutenant governor, though.
Nonetheless,
Yes.
I mean, a statewide office.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know. It's a little sad first time.
Well, you know what? I
2017.
think.
I don't know. Maybe
well,
it's me.
I'm not going to specifically say the lieutenant governor because we only had Kim Giordano, who lost for the Republicans, tried to take over the seat from Christie. And what I am happy is that as far as we D's are concerned, we did select a woman of color who is from the community.
The eyes have it, and I took a look at the whole situation, and I decided maybe Phil
This
Murphy
time-
was the way to go.
Thank you.
Man.
Well, you know what,
But
ladies and gentlemen,
I like Kim. I like Kim too.
Democrats need to be.
I just didn't
we
think she was
can't.
gonna win.
We can't be in the end zone. spiking the ball. We need everybody to get your happy behinds to Alabama. Alabama is about to put a Bama in
All right,
Memphis.
but on a more serious tip, we've got Roy Moore accused essentially of being a pedophile. There are how many victims that have come out thus far?
Well, 4 that we know of that have come out, a 14-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, and an 18-year-old.
And just to give it context, they were 16, 17-year-old
at the time, he was 33 or older.
So these allegations are 30 or 40 years old, and now they are just now
What's
coming
so
out.
that they just came out on Weinstein? They just came out on Bill Cosby. So I don't believe that just because women have now gotten the courage to be able to say what happened to them, we should minimize it.
I am not minimizing it. I am not saying it didn't happen. I'm not impugning their credibility, but I do question the timing.
I don't.
I question because he has run for state. This Roy guy has run for statewide office on a number of occasions.
He's also been kicked off the Supreme Court on 2 occasions.
And back and forth. It just seems like there have been many opportunities
in a state
for it to
like
happen.
Alabama, who lets a man stay on the bench who's been kicked off because he can't follow the law, who pulls out a gun in the middle of a speech. And again, I'm not saying Alabama is a little bit Bama, but what I am saying is that we have a state that will put on a pedophile. There are people who were interviewed in Alabama that said they will vote for this man even if he is guilty before they vote for a Democrat.
Even if he is guilty?
Even if he is guilty. Not
then
whether
those individuals have individual
But
problems.
there's too many people who are willing to go in front of the camera and actually say they will vote for a pedophile before they vote for a Democrat.
What's too many? Are we talking about? I mean, I think 1 is too many. But is this going to carry him through the election? I suspect and I hope that the Democrat wins, not because I'm pro-Democrat, but I hope that the people of Alabama get an opportunity to think about what they're actually about to do and then consider the Democratic candidate.
Remember, the governor who kept appointing this fool was also caught on a sexual conversation with his secretary. So sexual deviance getting back into office in Alabama is not an unusual thing.
So, again, I'd like to believe that in the state of Alabama,
you like to believe it,
maybe
but I go by their pattern.
Their pattern. So their
pattern has
allowed to elect pedophiles.
To elect not just pedophiles, men who have let's say a distasteful appetite for sex out of marriage and inappropriate sex with younger women.
Well, I think that I don't necessarily think that we can just put that down on Alabama.
Well,
I think we can look at Bill Clinton. He was elected twice.
But those are grown women. But this is not that I'm not saying that any man who has an adulterous relationship
was elected.
And again, it does not stand. It's not consistent across the board. If President Obama had 3 babies mamas, had 3 adulteries,
Weiner thought he could run for mayor.
Exactly, and
thought he could run.
And the Republicans, he's in jail right now.
Right, exactly.
He's in jail right now, and that's just from pictures.
Weiner, what was his first name?
Anthony
Weiner.
And that's just pictures. There's no contact. We're talking exchange. We're talking about a young girl who said he put his hands down her pants, and then he wanted her to put his hands down. All right,
so let's just talk about not so much just the allegations, but now it is a partisan issue, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be because sexual abuse is just wrong, and every American should agree that sexual abuse, in what other form, whether you're a Democratic sexual abuser or a Republican sexual abuser, it is wrong, and those individuals should not be qualified to run for office.
But I do think
it happens anyway.
I think it's unfair to, and I'm not saying that you were trying to be unfair, but it's unfair to say that a woman has a time where she should not be believed. And that's basically by saying that they waited 40 years, because that's what a lot of people from Alabama,
let's give it a little bit more context. Mm-hmm. The Washington Post did some investigating. And as a result of their investigation, they found these women. So maybe, just maybe, they
How
didn't.
they were able to find them is
but
because
what
they
I'm
did
saying,
report
well,
it.
hold on. Maybe, just maybe, the Washington Post politicized it.
No, I don't.
They immediately released it as soon as they found out. Is that what you're saying?
The Washington Post does investigations all the time.
Right. So could they have released the same
these
information
women-
2 months ago?
These women
Could they have released the same?
I don't know if they had it 2 months
Well,
ago.
that's what I'm saying. How was the investigation done? And did the paper choose the timing of the release?
Do you? I mean, can we agree that many times people will leak information when they think that it's going to actually be given some traction? Maybe,
Right.
just maybe, that because the Me Too has become, now people are actually listening to women who didn't listen to them before.
Right.
Maybe, just maybe, this
That's something
14-year-old
I would like to
and
look
her
into.
mother thought that if we say it now, maybe they will believe you. We don't know what this girl's life has been. We don't know how it has affected her, how she's had to watch this man progress, go from being a prosecutor to being a judge to being a Supreme Court judge and now a senator. Maybe, just maybe, that this time was the timing that was best for her. And as much as we know Washington Post leans D, that they are because this girl, her family's Republican.
All I'm suggesting
Her
is
family's
that
Republican.
all I'm suggesting is maybe she didn't have anything to do with when it was released.
When it was released is one thing.
Right.
But the fact is, when I believe that she probably let people know around the same time of the Harvey Weinstein wave that's going on.
So when it was released was not up to her then.
Well, but the fact that it was released is because she wanted it to. Because I don't think...
I agree.
I think
if she gave the interview, she wanted it released.
Yes.
If she allowed her name to be used in the public discourse, she wanted it to be
And
released.
not with 9
the
witnesses.
question is when.
And the 9
the 9 people that were around her at the time that this thing happened.
Is there ever a good time? Because you know what Alabama's trying to do right now?
What is that?
Change the date of the election to be 2 months out to give it time to die down.
But it's only going to get worse for Mr. Moore.
But
That's
see,
all I
this
have
is
to
what
say.
they're doing. This is what they're doing right now. The way the ballot is,
And
they
you
cannot
realize,
change.
and you realize what makes it political is not just his behavior, but the fact that if the Republicans lose this seat, they're going to lose their majority in the House. That's another thing that makes it political.
Which is why Democrats need to get
makes
their
this
behind to Alabama.
That makes the timing somewhat suspect, in my opinion. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying these girls are lying. But it just it's
But wait,
all
does the timing matter? I mean, Donald Trump came down the
Timing is
elevator. He came
yeah.
down the elevator with saying
So
all
if
kinds
timing
of
didn't matter,
nonsense.
why don't we just wait until the day before the election? Timing matters.
And you use it calculatedly. You know that.
Exactly.
You bring in certain witnesses when we're doing the trial. When you think that you got that jury in your hand, and then you bring that zinger in. You know how we do this.
So
Timing matters. And so let me tell you, for this girl, this may have been the right time. For Washington Post, and you know what? Can we just hold it just a little bit longer? Hey,
yeah,
as long as
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
If it fits the narrative, then I say let go for it. Let's go for it.
Anyway, let's go. All right. Well, I don't know. We got to wrap this up.
We do.
We got a few minutes that we can talk about something. I do think this deserves a part 2. We say that on a lot of the issues that we discuss. We need to get around to that part 2. We can get around to our recap of Russia.
Ooh.
And but you know, that recap with Russia is also going to involve talking about a little bit of Hillary too, because there seems to be some Russian influence on both sides of the aisle in this regard.
But when we get to that, the difference is, let's say everybody was doing opposition research.
Yes, everybody was.
What did you do with the information? What we do know, even if we believe this dossier was paid for by
$9 million. $9 million, yes. Well, by her campaign, not Hillary.
But either way, it wasn't used. That information that was allegedly used, where you had, I mean, let me tell you, that
we
is
got
not
a lot to talk about.
That's not even the worst story.
Russia.
The worst story we have that that's going to take too long
10,
is Flynn.
9.
Oh God,
8. Okay.
Thank you for joining us with Sisters-in-Law. But I got to talk about Flynn trying to kidnap Ukraine.
Oh, my goodness.
For $24 million.
All right.
We'll see you next week with Sisters-in-Law. I'm Judge T.
And I'm Rosalind Charles.
Thank you again for joining us. See you next week.